Hello and welcome to another episode of Coffee with Capril. All right, full disclosure, it's empty. Totally using it as a prop. Pulled it off the shelf on my way over. Okay, I just drank a Diet Coke. It's, I don't know, 2, 3 in the afternoon. Yeah. All right. I wanted to share with you some little bit of news. I've got a new book coming out. It's almost done, called Suddenly Single. And it's all about women and the fact that statistically, a lot of them are going to, if not most of them, are going to find themselves suddenly single at some point in their life. My inspiration for writing this book was actually the reason I became a financial advisor. It was my mother. My mother became suddenly single at age 30, not because of widowhood, but divorce. And they didn't have a good marriage, my parents, but the divorce was even worse because the agreement that my mother had with my dad was one that kind of put her in a position where she was probably going to have to get married again. And I say that because my mother never finished high school. So what was ultimately a divorce settlement that I would never recommend any client agree to, that's what she agreed to. And as a result, in many ways, well, let's just say the second marriage wasn't a whole lot better than the first, although God willing, they're still married today. But I was surrounded by a lot of bad issues as it related to money. Money was a big reason, I think, why my parents split up, although ultimately infidelity was the reason. And I learned a lot from watching the financial struggles that she went through. Now that I'm 60, I've witnessed not only having seen a lot of friends pass away, not only seen a lot of friends get divorced when they were in their 20s and 30s, when I was in my 20s and 30s, but now that I'm 60, I've witnessed this whole new wave of, I guess, kind of middle-aged divorce, or at least empty nester divorce, maybe is the right word, because I don't think at 60 I can be considered middle-aged, but I like to call it I've begun life's fourth quarter. But in any event, they remind me of, in many ways, what my mother went through, because the agreements and what they were settling with were not very good, and the reasoning behind getting divorced was kind of sudden. Now, look, I know that this doesn't mean all women are going to find themselves in this position, and I know that there are many women who are completely self-reliant and don't necessarily need guidance, but my mother was one of the people who did and really had nowhere to go. And a lot of the really friends that are going through this time need it as well. And I recognize that the needs of women are a little different. I mean, let me give you a couple of statistics that, as I did the research, kind of blew my mind. The average age for widowhood, 59 years old. Think about that. What was the other one that kind of blew me away? Average age for widowhood was 59. Oh, 80% of men will die married. 80% of women will die single. Now, what I am trying to point out in this book is that there are certain myths about money that we have. And if you are not engaged with your assets, because let's face it, a lot of times one spouse is the most engaged. It's just a fact of life. Again, I know it's politically incorrect for me to say that. It's politically incorrect to point out that men are different than women. Well, I'm not politically correct, all right? I live in Realville, and Realville says people are different. And while there are exceptions, the thing about stereotypes, they're created because they are often true. And what very often happens in a lot of the relationships that I've worked with clients is that wives tend to handle the finances of the household. But the bigger picture, the investment strategy and all that is handled by the husband. And when suddenly the wife becomes suddenly single, well, now there's a lot of confusion. And sometimes good planning was never done. I've dealt in situations where suddenly someone becomes a widow at a very young age, is completely unaware of the financial situation that they face. So the book is all about making yourself, A, more informed, and B, to alleviate some of the stress by getting the proper guidance. So a message for all of you out there, and then really, I don't care if you're a man or a woman, this is good advice, is you do need to be informed, and you do need to get help where you need it, and you want to get the right kind of help. And I discussed that in the book as well. So there'll be more on this to come as I finish it up. Like I said, it's just about done. We're kind of in the editing stage now, and there's a few. Every time you think you're done, you read something, and it's like, ooh, I got to put that in there. It's not going to be a super long book. Full disclosure, the purpose of the book is to get people to order it and then to see if they want to have a discussion with me. But even for those people who are already clients, I think you're going to get a lot out of it. And I will make sure that a copy is available to every single client. All right? So I hope you have a good week, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.